value.
Okay, how about this? How about this? How about I take the conscious experience of a pig and I
Okay.
put it in that human? Would you value that human?
Okay, in the hypothetical, if you could prove that's what happened, then no, I would not value that human.
You wouldn't, but they're a human with a conscious experience. And those were
I
the
don't
two initial
understand
traits
how
you
you
had.
don't see what you're. You don't.
I don't see
No,
how
no,
I'm
hold
doing
on.
anything wrong.
You're-
If you could
you
just spell
sound
it
like-
out,
no, no,
if
I
you
know,
could just
you're
spell
right.
it out without
You're
doing
right.
like
No, no,
some analogy
okay.
or anything.
I
You can just
understand.
literally spell
Okay.
out.
I'm going
Wait,
to.
if you
We're
could
gonna.
just spell it
We're gonna
out.
figure this out. We're gonna get there. Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have my stream open?
No,
Okay.
I can open it.
Okay.
There's a big delay, so.
Okay. Wait, isn't there a way to make circles even? Oh, there it is.
Well, I mean, is this? I don't know if this is even gonna explain it to me.
Oh,
I don't know
no,
if
no,
this is
no.
be-
It's gonna
This
explain
might be
it.
some Weasley debate tactic here. Okay.
Okay. There. I'm not talking to you. You're. Okay.
I'll just lurk here until you want to talk to me, if that's okay.
I don't, but okay. On the left, this is a human brain. Okay, you understand? Squintillion.
On the left, this left circle.
Yes, that's a human
Yes.
brain. Okay.
Okay.
On the right, we have conscious experience X. Understand?
Wait, let me write this down. Okay.
You don't have to write it down. I'm literally writing it down for you. I'm writing it down.
There's a delay.
Well,
Okay. Okay.
okay. Now, there are other types of conscious experiences out here that come from other types of creatures. Okay.
Okay.
So this might be like a pig, and we could call this conscious experience like, we'll call it X sub P. Or this might be a horse, and it has conscious experience X sub H, okay? This might be a dog, and it has conscious experience X sub D, okay? Maybe, okay, right? So different creatures with different conscious experiences, yes? Well, yes?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? Are you not following me?
Let me explain. So in this drawing, yes, you're drawing distinct circles. They're different circles, but how this will tie into the general argument?
Don't worry about. We're not even.
Yes,
worrying
that's a separate topic.
We're
But
not
here,
even
yes,
worrying
you've
about
drawn different circles and they have different labels.
So
Yes, I
okay,
get
so you understand that animal P produces conscious experience X sub P. Animal H produces
Yes,
conscious
yes.
experience. Okay. Now you ask me, what do you value? Okay. It's not enough for me to say that I just value conscious experience. That's not enough. I value the conscious experience that I believe is only produced by minds H, humans. Okay?
Yeah.
We can call it X sub H.
Yeah.
Okay? This is what I value. Okay?
Yeah, so this is
now,
a very
if you tell me,
yeah.
now what your hypothetical is, okay? What you're doing is you're creating a new creature, we'll say Z, and you're telling me that this new creature can actually exhibit X sub H. Now, in the world we live in now, oh, H is for horse. I don't care. I thought that only humans could produce this, but you're telling me hypothetically, here's a whole other thing that can produce it. Now, hypothetically, if that is the case, then fine. I would have to value this thing too because it can produce this thing up here. But you can't go back to my other world and go, well, see, I've proven a contradiction because now I've proven that this thing doesn't matter. When in this world, my understanding is this is the only thing that produces this thing.
Okay, well, there was a contradiction. I mean, I don't know if you want to disagree with there was a contradiction based on the traits you gave. I understand you might have an empirical understanding, like, to my knowledge, only humans have blah, 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 blah. But there was a contradiction given the trait. I mean, if you don't think there was a contradiction and you can explain to me without like drawing a graph and just like in simple
then in
terms.
that case, let's try to, we'll erase.
But right now, there's a different question I think is at play right here.
Go
The
ahead.
different question, what you're asking, is an empirical question, is whether or not the distribution of experiences, of conscious experiences that humans have, whether or not there's any overlap in the animal kingdom.
No, I
And
would never even ask a question like that. I don't even know if that question is meaningful.
Well, that's what we're asking right here because you've drawn these little graphs that show conscious experiences, right?
I'm
And
saying
you've shown
that
how-
different minds
Well,
produce...
no, but you've specifically drawn these circles not to overlap with that one circle.
No, they don't have to be circles. They could be Excel spreadsheets.
Well, yes, you've drawn separate things, separate entities that represent this object.
Because
and
what
you're
I'm saying is
it's
separate
not this.
entities give rise to
Well,
separate
yes,
types
so
of
you're
things.
making the claim that these aren't the same thing, right? Aren't you claiming?
Yes, that is the claim I'm making.
Okay, so that's the claim that you're burdened with to prove to me, right? Like, I don't necessarily think that's the case.
So if I prove that thing, do I win the argument?
Well, this is a pretty complicated topic. How are you
No,
gonna
this
prove
is a
to me?
super easy topic.
How you yesterday or the other day you were talking about how consciousness is extremely complicated and all these different things. All right, how are you gonna explain to me that no animal has
Okay.
this type of experience?
Okay. Do you agree that emergent properties come from underlying physical things?
Maybe, I don't know.
Oh well, you crushed me.
I can agree.
You just destroyed me. I
can agree. I don't know where this is going.
I'm defeated.
I don't know where this is
Well,
going
if you don't know
to.
where it's going, then you better answer like a. Well, let's see.
I
Does an
don't know. I
emergent
honestly
property
don't
come from
know.
underlying things? Well, I don't know. An emergent property. It's called emergent. It's almost tautologically the case.
'cause
that
I
an
don't
emergent
know. I
property.
don't know.
Well, you don't know. You don't know. If
I don't know under
things-
what context these are being asked, but let's just say yes. Let's just say okay.
Let's
maybe,
say
sure.
yes. Okay.
Maybe, but I'm not sure. But yes, sure.
Gotcha. Okay. An emergent property comes from an underlying physical thing, right? My guess would be
Sure.
that in a lot of cases, if you change the underlying physical thing, you're probably going to change what this emergent property looks like. If that is true, if that syllogism is true, then I would say that the conscious experience that humans have probably going to be different than the conscious experience animals have, because conscious experience is an emergent property of the brain, and brains in animals are fundamentally, or seem to be fundamentally different than the brains in humans.
I wouldn't say that's necessarily true. No.
Could I?
don't think.
You don't think that
here?
animal brains are fundamentally different
No,
than
no.
human
I don't
brains?
think the idea that you can't have a different composition leading to the same emergent property.
I guess you theoretically could, but that
Well, then
wouldn't
that's
be
all
my-
that matters. All that matters is I mean, not theoretically whether we could. It matters whether or not it could or couldn't. Not like theoretically, because right, if it could, then there's an argument made to be valuing animals here, right?
No, there's
Well,
a
no, I mean, that's what the whole thing
hypothesis
was
to
about.
get there, but you haven't made any leeway
Well,
towards
well,
that.
you haven't made any argument because you were trying to make the argument of how it isn't the case that that's possible.
What I'm saying is if there's an emergent property from an underlying thing and I value that emergent property, if I dramatically change or if I change that underlying thing, my assumption would be that the emergent property would change. I guess necessarily it doesn't.
So
Could I explain something here?
Knock yourself out.
Okay, so there's not necessarily any particular reason why our DNA or other structures like, the brain is the way it is. There are many different ways that our DNA could be aligned, or our brain could be aligned to produce the same outcome. Evolution doesn't really care about making the most efficient structure or making anything that's designed in any particular way. So if evolution were to take a different course somehow, if we were to redo history or go back in time, it's entirely possible that our brains could be massively different and our DNA could be massively different, but it could create these same emergent properties, that our consciousness has. So he is correct, and there was actually a biologist that was talking about this in your subreddit. So he is correct. There's no particular reason why our brain is a certain way. It's just that
That is true. Theoretically, completely different underlying things, but generally that's not the case.
Well, I mean,
No,
I mean,
that's
I
always the
don't know what that
case.
means. I don't know what your
the
answer
argument,
means.
No,
We're in
it's always
at
the
this
case.
point we're in other possible worlds.
No, we're in this world where we're talking about this argument.
Okay,
where
so
you
in
just
this
said-
world, the conscious experience of humans is clearly different than the conscious experience of animals. The conscious experience of humans is an emergent property
that wasn't the
of human
question.
brain.
But the question wasn't whether or not they're different. It was whether or not we value them. And the
Well,
question
Well, but
we were
in
actually
order to get me to value them, you're trying to equate them or show that they're at least similar enough to human experiences that they ought to be valued.
Well, wait. I think we're jumping too far ahead. The contention at first was the consciousness experience of a human is an emergent property of the brain. If you change properties of the brain, then that emergent property would be different. And no, that's certainly not the case. And you don't have to go into an example of other worlds or anything. Again, there's no particular reason why our brain is mapped out or
Hold
designed
on,
the way
the
it
thing
is.
you're talking about, there's no reason why. That's not relevant at all. That's a totally irrelevant argument.
Right. Well,
there
it
is
was a
the
small
case that if there are an infinite number of ways to arrange the human brain or whatever to get or to arrange a brain to get a human conscious experience, the infinite number of ways that it wouldn't is going to be much larger than the infinite number of ways that it would. The general assumption would be if you're changing the underlying structure,
it would be the same.
Well, but can I? The only question we're asking right now is whether or not other beings can have experiences such that we would value right? That we would value based on our understanding of human experiences, right? That was the
I didn't
the
think we
question.
ever even got to that question, but sure, we can
Well,
answer
no,
that
because
one next.
because you were drawing all these graphs, you know, and you were showing
What I was
how,
saying
like,
was that humans seem to have a unique experience, consciously.
no, they were unique in the sense that it isn't the same with these other things. Not unique as in like
the original the claim that you made that I had jumped in to share my opinion on was that because of the physical properties of the human brain, that is what causes these unique emergent conscious experiences. That's not necessarily true. Again, a brain can be mapped out many different ways, but it can actually result in the same properties. So you're going to have a hard time arguing that because, say, a pig's brain is mapped out differently, it is not possible for it to have any particular conscious experience. So, you really can't, in good faith, make that argument because, again,
okay,
a brain can be mapped out in many different ways.
It could theoretically be mapped out in many different ways,
experience.
and it's also possible that the water that I'm drinking is not actually H2O. It's actually a totally alien composition that actually is functioning the exact same way as H2O.
Occam's razor.
No. Wait, hold on. Whoa. Occam's razor favors me, so you auto lose if you want to default to Occam's razors. Yes,
things
it does.
are getting like
Wait, hold on. Hold on, wait.
No.
No, hold on. You just engaged in a totally bad faith line of argumentation there. Actual bad faith. Yes, you did. Because I'm telling you that if a brain is different from one brain to another, it's probably producing a different conscious experience. And you're saying, well, actually, if we consider all possible worlds and the fact that evolution could actually produce two totally different structures that produce the same thing, that is possible, right? That's saying, go, okay, sure, that is possible. And then when I say, well, what if the water I'm drinking is not H2O? It's a totally different chemical property, but it has it's a totally different chemical composition, but it has all the same properties of H2O. And then you go, and then no, wait, stop, let me finish. Stop, I'm going to kick you, okay? Let me finish my thing. And then you're saying, no, Occam's razor. You can't appeal to Occam's razor in my example, but then in your example, say that brains could evolve to be totally different, but still exhibit the same conscious experience. That's not fair.
Okay. Well, no, what I thought you meant by that analogy was you're talking about like a brain in a vat type thing.
No, I'm not talking about a brain in a vat at all. I'm saying that you could have water that is a totally different, chemical composition, but it still exhibits the same properties. That's possible, and that could have been sneaked into my house. But generally, I'm going to imagine if you change the underlying properties, it's going to change the emergent stuff as well. That's going to be my assumption. Same thing with brains. Now, it's possible you could construct things that are identical, but if you want to say Occam's razor, then I'm going to say changing the brain probably changes the experience.
I don't think you're understanding totally what I mean by what I'm saying. So
hold on, wait. What do you think I don't understand, and then I'll explain it quickly.
Okay, what I don't think you're understanding is that
No, wait. Just tell me what you think, and then I'll explain it instead of just tell me what you think I don't understand.
Tell me what you well, I'm trying to.
No, you're trying to explain it. I don't want you to explain it. Just tell me so that I can explain it to you so that you can understand that I understand what you're trying to say.
You want me to explain what I think you don't understand?
Just tell me the thing you think I don't understand. Don't explain it. Just tell me the thing you think I don't understand. Fuck, you could have just explained it this time.
Tell me the thing I think you don't understand.
Just explain what you want to explain. Go ahead.
Okay. So what I don't think I'm disagreeing with you that if you change somebody's brain, I don't know, take a piece out or add a piece, yes, it's likely going to change some sort of conscious experience in some way. The point I'm making is your brain doesn't have to be mapped out in a particular way to get the same outcome. And I think if you analyze people's brains, you're going to actually see a pretty significant difference between just individuals.
Well, I don't know what you just said. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if there are other types of brain constructions that would produce the same conscious experience that humans have. I don't know if that is the case.
Well, they certainly do. So you can find different brain diseases or brain injuries. One of the most common is frontal lobe lobotomies. So there's been a lot of kids, especially, that had that procedure way long ago, in the 30s, 40s, and they did it because kids would misbehave, act crazy, and lobotomies were performed on these kids. It actually made them worse. Your frontal lobe is responsible for things like
well, okay, I understand. I know your frontal lobe for a lot of cognitive thought, et cetera, rational behavior, et cetera.
Well, not cognitive thought and rationality. It holds you back. It lets you what's the fucking word? Self-control.
Sure,
it's responsible for a lot of self-control.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can actually have other parts of the brain take over that responsibility for self-control. Kids who had this procedure done they do end up developing if they're like, in a proper environment and they're taught properly and shit like that. The other parts of their brain end up compensating. So that's
Sure, but you have no
massive
idea if they
physical
have.
change.
But you don't know if they're having the same conscious experiences before and after, though. You don't know that.
Well, you can ask these people. That's the benefit of them being.
Well, but this is
human.
all
And,
irrelevant.
like,
to-
No, you
this is
can't
all irrelevant.
Ask, what do you mean you can ask these people? I don't even know if that's possible. You're making huge assumptions there.
What
Can
do
a
you
person
mean?
Okay, but wait, but none
can
of
a
this is
person
relevant to the actual
self-report? Can a
conversation.
person
Somebody-
self-report their level of consciousness? I'm not sure if that's possible.
Yes, they can. What do you mean? That's the one way we know for sure other people are.
First of all, we don't ever
conscious.
know for sure. No, we don't. We
Okay,
assume.
but wait, we're
It's
going
an
way off
assumption.
topic
look,
here.
Look, we have to. Okay, well, we have to agree that chances are other humans exist and other if we agree that other consciousnesses exist, then we can agree that yes, other people share the same conscious experience as us because they can report it as long as we
No,
assume that
that's
other
not-
minds exist.
If you ask a blackout drunk person if they're conscious, what will they say?
Okay, well,
They'll probably say yes. They'll report. Are they conscious? If they're not recording memories? I don't know. That's a complicated question.
okay, well, going on that example, being blackout drunk, it will shut down your hippocampus. And if you ask somebody who's blackout drunk the same question like 10 minutes later, they'll forget that they were asked that question. So you can actually determine.
What
that
if they're
they are
blackout drunk for the rest of
experiencing-
their life?
Well, same thing. There's actually a guy who has a
I
really
know the
bad brain
7-second
injury from
memory
some...
thing. Yeah. Is
Yeah,
that guy
yeah.
conscious? We don't know. His level of consciousness
Well,
might
we
be
know
different.
he's conscious. Well,
You don't-
yes,
okay, you
we
don't.
understand
No,
his
you
level of
don't.
consciousness.
No, you don't.
We
You're just
understand his
wrong.
consciousness is different.
No, you're just wrong.
And
you have
part
a,
of
you
that
think
is
we have a
based on
way better understanding of
self-reporting.
consciousness than we actually do. The idea that you can self-report consciousness is insane. That's
Dude,
absolutely not
you-
true.
If we assume other minds exist,
Yes.
self-reporting is, I'd say, the best way to understand what somebody is experiencing. They can explain it to you.
The fact that you just
Like,
said
what?
that you literally cannot self-report an experience. A qualia can't be reported.
Yes, you can.
No, you can't. You can say something. You can hope that it invokes in another person's mind a similar qualia, but you can't actually report. Tell me what the color red looks like, or tell me what something soft feels like. You can't
Okay,
report
well,
that
you're-
experience to me
you're
at all.
Talking about you're talking about something.
You
you're
can't
talking about
self-report
something
these
that's-
things, right? And you can't
Well,
self-report consciousness either.
You can certainly self-report some things. Like, yeah, if you're talking about something like the color red, yeah, it's possible that the color red could look blue to somebody, but they still identify it as red just because of things like language. That
A
actually,
thing
and by
that
the
only
way,
humans
again,
have, by the way. Yeah, but
again, there's ways of determining whether or not they are experiencing red the same way you are.
no,
We can go through. Yeah, there is.
Well, okay,
Yes,
but
there
now
is.
this is like an epistemic slash.
No, it's not an
It's not
epistemic. It's a
it's
thing
not
that like he
epistemic.
thinks we have
No.
way more information about like the conscious
Okay.
experience in the brain than we actually
Okay,
do.
dude.
This is just totally not
Well,
true.
yeah,
You're
but, like,
making
why are we
so
going into
many
this?
Listen, I
assumptions.
can explain this if you let me explain. We can determine if people are experiencing red the same way another person is. And oftentimes, a lot of people do actually experience red slightly differently. There are different levels to which people can see color. Males usually have a smaller
what you're
color
about to
range.
explain is something totally different than knowing if two people are experiencing red the same way.
Listen. Men usually experience a smaller color range, whereas women experience a wider color range. So you can actually see that there's difference in the gradient to which people can see different colors.
How do you know they're
because-
experiencing the same color?
Because of the way you can do color mixing, you can also determine that people, yes, are interpreting the color red the exact same way. You can also see people who have what's it called, color blindness. Again, they.
Wait,
can
how do you know? How do
actually-
you know?
How do we know if people?
How do you know they're
color
experiencing?
blindness?
No, how do you know they're experiencing the color red the same way?
Well, again, if you look into some of the research on color blindness and how people perceive color, we can say with like, unless we're gonna assume like brain in a vat kind of level theory, like no, if we understand that other minds exist and we recognize that our eye structures are fundamentally the same, you can determine that people are experiencing color red.
Everything
Well,
you
how?
just
The
said
same
there,
way.
if we can determine the eyes are the same, So what about if we determine the brains are the same? Because animal brains are different than human brains. That's my argument. You literally just made the argument that the emergent phenomenon of observing a color is going to emerge from the underlying physical structure of the eye. And as long as two eyes are the same, they're having the same phenomenon, or they're experiencing the same phenomenon. That's my whole argument about brains.
Okay, well, that's skipping again, a bit ahead of what I'm saying. The point is, there's ways to empirically test whether or not people are having.
Well, I didn't
experiences.
understand. How did you how do you empirically demonstrate that they're having
Again,
different
look
experiences?
at just it's hard for me to explain, but if you look at how colorblind tests are conducted, somebody who has a vastly different color perception would not be able to come up with the same answers on these tests. It's just impossible. The way the brain works to sense, and the eye and the brain work to sense colors, it would be impossible for somebody to experience the color blue as red and then be able to pass these tests.
Would it be? It would be impossible for someone to see red as some other color?
Well, it would be possible, but again, if you look at the way, something like colorblind tests are conducted, it would be impossible.
So wait, is it impossible or is it not? I mean, like, if it's possible, I don't see why.
Wait, when you're talking about how colorblind tests are conducted, that's not telling you how they see red. That's just telling you they can differentiate between two colors. That's what you're saying isn't even true.
No.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I haven't looked at the studies, but I don't know if it's that simple. But even then, I don't even think that would demonstrate you experiencing it the same way.
Okay, regardless, even if we can't agree on this particular thing, the thing that I'm just trying to get across, and this is like a more minor point in this argument, you can have significantly different structures in the brain that behave the same way and create the same conscious experience. And I think especially when you're talking about humans,
I agree, but I'm going to
because they
appeal
can
to you saying
self-report.
Occam's razor earlier, and animals
Well,
can't self-report. So
I
does that
don't
mean
know
we just don't
how
believe
you
animals?
can say Occam's razor.
Because Occam's razor
dude,
says animal brains are different than human brains. Humans have
dude.
way different things that they can do that animals can't do. So it seems like they're having a sufficiently different conscious experience.
If you have subjects that can self-report and we can identify massively different structures in the brain, then I don't know how the fuck you can claim somebody's having a massively different
who has
conscious
massively
experience when
different
they can
structures in the brain?
self-report.
What are you talking about? Who's self-reporting massively?
Dude.
Do you think a
the example I
lobotomized
gave
person? You think a lobotomized person has a massively different brain such that it's more similar to like a
Yes,
pig
that
or a
is-
horse than a human?
Well, no, that's not what I'm arguing. I'm saying you can have very significant changes in brain structure.
The difference between a
and get the
lobotomized person's
same-
brain and another non-lobotomized person's brain is still more similar than that between a human brain and
Well,
another animal
I
brain.
agree. I never said that wasn't the case. The point I'm making is that yes, you can have significant changes in brain structure and have the same conscious experience.
But you don't
Again,
even know if they're having the same conscious experience. You don't
they
know.
can
Yeah.
self-report.
No, because you said
Yes, we do
you
know.
said it was the
Unless you're
same.
gonna unless you're going to say we cannot possibly know another mind and use this weird solipsism argument, you have to acknowledge that.
No,
In
but we don't-
human subjects that can self-report, we can absolutely determine.
Okay,
But we don't
let's
even-
go.
we
Wait,
don't
wait,
have
let's
to say it's
compare.
the
Let's
same.
compare. No, all three of us. Let's just see if we can do this right now. Can we all self-report our consciousness? Go ahead. I'll wait for vegan gains.
Well, yeah, we certainly can.
Yeah,
we can
self-report. Go
talk
ahead.
about shared experiences we have.
No, I want you to
We can talk
self-report
about-
your,
But that
your
doesn't
level
prove
of
it. I mean,
consciousness.
doesn't
I want to
prove
hear
anything.
this.
Okay. Are you literally going to deny the existence of other minds, Destiny?
I'm not denying the
He
existence of
isn't,
the
but
minds. I'm denying
the
you
line
can
of
self-report
argumentation.
it.
Okay, well, you know what? If we did a brain scan on each of us,
That's
we're gonna
not
see there's
self-reporting.
metabolic-
Yeah, but
Well,
look, none of this
that's-
is necessary
look,
for the
look,
argument, the initial argument. None of this is necessary.
necessary for the argument. If you're going to deny that self-reporting is useful for determining states of consciousness, then okay.
No, you hold
no
on.
way to
You did a
determine
tricky,
whether other
tricky.
minds
Wait,
exist.
you did a
No,
tricky, tricky there.
No,
You did a tricky,
there's
tricky.
No way to know. There's no way to know if other minds exist. If we did a brain scan and there's differences between our brains, then you're clearly having a much different consciousness experience than I am. How do I know if you're feeling love or hate or anger or pain?
Just
I
to
should
be-
be able to torture you, right?
So just to
Because
be clear,
how am
now
I
we go to the high.
supposed to know?
No, not torture. Infinitely Holocaust destinies. That's the phrase you guys use, right? So you
Sure,
you pulled a little tricky
anything.
there, saying that you can't
Your
self-report
brain's
states.
different than mine, so why should I assume
You-
why should I assume you're experiencing similar conscious experiences like pain? if your brain is different than mine? Why should I assume
pulled a
that?
tricky and said that we can't self-report states of consciousness. That's different than being able to
I
report that
didn't
you
say
are
we
consciousness.
can't self-report states of consciousness. I said we can.
You said we can't, but I'm
self-report
saying
states
that
of
states of
consciousness.
consciousness are different than consciousness. States of consciousness implies like being tired or a little bit tipsy or high or something. That's different than reporting if you are conscious
Well,
or having a
states
human
and
conscious experience.
qualities. I can add states and qualities. We can self-report states and qualities of consciousness. That's
You
a
can't
great
report,
thing.
but you can't report your conscious experience right now. You can't report that. There's no, you can't put it into words.
Sure, I can. I'm like frustrated. I'm like a little bit angry. I'm a little bit impatient.
These are feelings.
Like,
these aren't states
these
of
are all-
consciousness. This isn't like your actual like conscious experience. And lots of things can theoretically get. A plant might get angry. I don't know.
Okay, well, you're saying okay. Well, Destiny. Then I could use the argument. Oh, well, you're just self-reporting states of consciousness when I'm torturing you. Like, how do I know if like it's to a high degree or what quality? Maybe torture for you is pleasure for me. So, like, I guess
Because
I should
we
be
have
able to
similar.
torture
Because
you
we
and
have.
infinitely Holocaust
Because we
you.
all have.
Like, this is where your reasoning leads. You've used the
Okay, well,
solipsism argument again.
Go ahead,
It can be used right against you. I could say,
okay, dude, everything
animals
you've said in this conversation has
just-
proven my argument. You literally went on to
No,
say,
it
well, we
hasn't.
know that two eyes have the same structure, therefore they must report the same color perception. Well, two human
That's not what I
brains
said.
have the same structure, so
That's a
human
straw
brains
man.
have the same conscious experience. If you have the same brain as me, I'm going to assume that
I
you
was
probably
talking about
respond to
self-reporting.
stimuli. I'm going to assume that you probably respond to stimuli in the same way that I do. We have the same types of brains, and then you probably have the same conscious experience about those experiences that I do. How it is to be you is probably pretty similar to how it is to be me in our minds, because we're both humans. We have the same underlying structures that have these conscious experiences emerging.
Okay, the problem here is that you're claiming because there's largely different structures, that means their conscious experiences should be assumed to be like, okay, they can't experience pain or not to a level that we should respect, or they can't they can't experience things like the will to live, or at least not to the same extent we do. I could flip this around. I could say, okay, animals have a stronger will to live. Like, look, fucking coyotes will bite their own legs off to get out of a trap. Have you ever seen a fucking human being do that?
Yeah, the guy does it in the
few.
Saw movie.
Well,
Hello.
sure. There was a guy who actually did that.
Cut his
in real
arm
life,
off?
but
Yeah.
It was with a knife. There's not many people who'd be willing to do that. There are things that I've seen animals do to try to survive that
I don't know what
humans would
stronger will
probably
to
not
live
do.
me. I don't know why I care about that. That's not a thing we're talking about. What's
Okay,
stronger?
well,
Is that what we're
any
evaluating?
quality-
Stronger will to
any
live?
quality. Okay,
Cockroaches
dude,
seem to have a
any-
really strong will to live.
Oh my fucking god! Any quality that you care about that you claim to be unique in the human conscious experience. Okay, well, if we're gonna make this argument, they have largely different brain structures, so their conscious experience must be different. Then I could argue, okay, whatever quality that you like think is important for a human being is greater in an animal. Oh, we can't know other minds, so.
You're so desperate to try to get like a name the trait. Well, what is the quality of a
No,
human
it's
brain
not-
that
Wait,
no
vegan
animals
games.
have
We're
that
not
same quality?
talking
You
about
are. You're
name
like
the trait
obsessed
right
with the
now.
name the trait argument. That's what you're
We're
trying to
not
do.
talking about name the
Wait,
trait.
vegan
If
games.
we're
What are we
about
talking
name the
about? What
We're
are
not
like? What are
talking
you?
about name the trait. We're talking about whether or not different brain structures can create the same or similar conscious experience.
He did. I don't.
And
Destiny
that
didn't
is the
disagree with
case.
that. He didn't disagree with that.
That is the case.
But he didn't disagree with that.
Yeah, it's
Well,
possible they could. I
he's
just wouldn't
ar-
accept they would because Aka's razor.
Yeah, he said it was. He said he didn't disagree that it's possible.
Right. So if it is possible for different brain structures to have the same or similar conscious experience, then what are you arguing with me about?
Well, he was arguing about what you were talking about, whether or not it's possible.
Okay, then like let's just move to the next part of this, like the
Let's
next
go move
logical
down
step to this discussion.
The dialogue tree.
Yeah, fucking dialogue tree. Okay, so what specific conscious experiences do you value in a human being that animals lack?
The human conscious experience, whatever
Well,
that
why don't we just point to?
experience is.
Can we just point to
Okay, well,
examples
that's-
of animals?
Well, you know what? Animals have human conscious experiences, so there you go.
Okay, well, can you
We
show
can't
me like
know
an?
other minds, right?
Well, no. So then we go by
Like what?
behavior. What animals behave like humans?
Dolphins.
Okay, dogs, cows, chickens, pigs, they have their own, like...
I don't know what
they
dog, cow,
develop
chicken, or pig
social-
you know that behaves like a human, or I don't know what humans you know that behave like
Okay,
dogs,
have you ever
cows,
seen
chickens, or pigs.
furries? Have you ever seen furries? Oh, well, they yiff each other, like... What does that even fucking mean? There's clearly behavioral similarities between humans and animals. Like, what are you talking about? They both have their own social circles. They both produce like social contracts. They have their ways of interacting where they have pro-social behaviors. Like, I don't know what you mean. They eat and drink. That's a fucking behavior that's similar between humans and animals. So okay, animals have human conscious experience, according to you. Like
Well,
this is why
I don't think this is the best way to go about
No,
it.
no, no. I think it's a good way to go about it. So
No,
do you
no.
think,
I think why don't we just look at humans?
Let's do this. I
Why
like
don't we
this
just,
one.
No, can I just say why don't we just look at humans that he already values that have really diminished human experiences, and we can see that animals probably have higher levels of experience than these humans that he values, right?
What's an experience that some humans might have that some animals
Like I
might
said, like a
cross
retard, like
the
some
threshold of?
mentally challenged human. Like I can send you a video of a girl.
Okay, Destiny.
Yeah.
Pigs have some pigs at least can have intelligence up to that of a 5-year-old. They're certainly
They
human
might have
beings
intelligence
that
up to that of a
lower
5-year-old, but a
intelligence than
5-year-old can
5-year-old.
utilize language in a way that no animal ever
Okay,
can.
there are children
that-
who
you didn't-
cannot use language. There are
No,
children
that is
who
a
are
built-in
either
a priori. The
mentally
understanding.
disabled.
Okay, well, if you can find somebody that is so mentally disabled, so many parts of their brain are missing, then yeah, I would say these essentially are not having a human conscious experience.
Okay, and
No, they
you'd
would be having a
fine
human
with
conscious
holocausting. No, and
Infinite
that's fine.
holocaust of
You would be
retard. Oh
fine.
no, he got me with the vegan line. The
No,
infinite
would you be
retard
fine?
holocaust.
Would you be fine with holocausting people who had a complete inability to learn language?
If people had minds that were so diseased and rotten that they're not even human minds anymore, then sure, make them into hamburgers.
No, that's not an answer to my question. You mentioned specifically language. If there were
I said,
somebody
no,
who
I
was
didn't
so
say just
mentally
language, the
disabled-
capacity to learn language and the concepts associated with language. But if
You-
you're telling
okay,
me that there is a brain, we're back in the exact same argument before. You're like, imagine if there is a human mind that didn't come from a
literally
human.
Exists.
I can't. No.
That literally exists, Destiny. There's multiple ways that can happen, by the way. One of the ways that happens where a human brain cannot learn the capacity to learn language is if they don't learn language by the age of 10. You can find feral children that are like literally raised by wolves, and they have no ability to learn language. because they
Learning
didn't
language
learn it by the
doesn't
age of
learning
10.
language doesn't just mean knowing how to say words. It's the concepts
know.
associated with
I
language.
understand.
Okay, then if
I
you're telling me,
understand.
I'm 99% sure that you're wrong on this, but we'll say this: if you're telling me that there are children that if you raise them to the age of 10, parts of their brain rot off and they can no longer conceptualize like negatives,
It's
or they
not
can't
that
think
they
of things in
rot off.
other like time and space, or whatever. If they lose the ability to do these things, then yeah, I wouldn't consider them having a human conscious experience anymore. And you can eat all the
By the
hamburgers
way-
of those feral wolf children as you want. Okay.
Okay, so somebody who's mentally disabled in a way where they cannot learn language, and that means
You
understanding.
keep saying, hold on,
concepts of
wait, hold on.
words.
If you say it one more time, I'm dragging you to the channel. It's not just learn language. It's the concepts in the human mind that are associated with being able to learn human language. It's not just learning. The fact that we can learn language demonstrates the sophistication of the human mind, and learning language is one way that we can look at that. It's not just if you can learn how to fucking talk or not. It's not as simple as that. I know that vegans like to think that
I
language is
understand
just
what you're
saying words
saying.
like crows or pigs or horses have language.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay, so if there, and by the way, you have to agree these people do exist. There are people who have.
There
a
probably
complete
are, but they're
inability.
you have to acknowledge that it's incredibly rare. A fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent.
Incredibly rare. I don't know. You
Okay,
can
then give
find,
me a
like,
percentage.
I'm not sure what percentage exactly.
You need
but
you need to give me. You need to
certainly are.
ballpark it, because if you're gonna say like 50%, then I'm
I-
gonna call bullshit.
Okay, look, the public schools I went to, there were there was like a special kids kind of thing.
Okay,
at some of these
no,
public
stop. You
schools.
got it. You're so wrong.
I don't know any actual empirical data.
okay,
but
hold on, you're
these
just-
people do exist, okay? And I've
No,
encountered
hold on.
them in my
Stop.
daily life.
No, you
alright?
don't. No, you don't. Okay. Mentally disabled people are not so mentally disabled that they've lost the ability to conceptualize
I'm not
language.
saying everybody. I'm
no,
not
no.
saying
I'm telling you
every
that
mentally
even in a
disabled
special
person.
ed school, it would be 1% of the people at that school, or not at all.
Yeah,
Special ed
okay,
kids are
I'd
kids that have
agree.
like severe like
I'd
learning
agree.
like people with Down syndrome can conceptualize like language and the
I
associated
understand.
concepts. Okay.
I
Well, I'm just saying
understand
because you cited special ed school as an example of people that can't do this. That's not true. That's
I'm
just...
not. You cut me off before I could fucking finish.
Okay, go ahead.
So yeah, I like when I went to public school, there were like special ed, like departments in these schools, and there were kids in those special ed departments who had a complete inability to learn language. There was one kid who I can't remember his fucking name, but
We
he was
don't need his name.
actually in his 20s, and I can't remember what disease it was. He was in his 20s. He had no ability to learn language, but he was like 3 feet tall. He looked like a 4-year-old. he had no ability to understand language. Like if you asked him something, like he wouldn't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Okay,
Like if
not
you
being
said
able to.
food, he would not understand like what that meant.
Okay, so this guy had a caretaker 100% of the time and was never allowed to roam on his own.
100% of the time.
Okay, sure. This is incredibly rare. That is
Okay,
not a
so you'd be
normal
fine with
special.
Holocausting those people.
Yes, all of them in camps. Sure thing.
Okay, cool.
Yep,
Okay.
gotcha.
Well, vegan
like
gains.
the Nazis did. Okay. good.
That is exactly what the Nazis did. Oh,
But
and we got
that's
the Nazi
okay.
equivalent too.
Wait.
Okay, yes. So Squint,
Okay.
this is exactly what I was saying. This is where his argument's
Yes.
going.
Wait,
It's
wait,
exactly
wait,
where
wait,
it went,
wait.
and it's what I said I was going to go
wanna
through the entire
understand-
time. Yeah.
Well,
No.
wait. I want to understand what you precisely mean by language.
Wait, can I
like,
just say
do
vegan
you-
gains? Wait, before I want to say something that he already admitted to this like 10 minutes
Right,
ago or
right.
15 something.
Yeah, but he
It's
doesn't
fine.
care
Yeah,
about
it's
the
fine.
arguments. For the vegans, it's just the obsession
No,
of
I
being
know.
able to
No,
say that
he
infinitely
does, he
Holocaust
does.
No,
retards
you-
like the Nazis.
Okay,
This
I
is
wanna
like the
have-
standard, like,
I
ask
wanna
yourself
have a better
101 Discord server,
understanding.
like, debate tree. You have to get
Okay,
to the
dude,
very
I
end where
wanna
you can
have-
go
No,
infinitely
Destiny,
Holocaust
no.
retards. Yes.
Listen, Destiny, I want to have a better understanding of what you mean by language. When you mean language, like language is defined in a very specific way. If you talk to neuroscientists or something, it's not just the ability to understand like individual words as a concept. It's being able to connect words together in a sentence and use like grammar systems. Like, do you mean language as just the basic ability to like associate like, okay, water, like water means like this wet thing.
No, animals can do that. That's not language.
yeah,
That's
okay,
Pavlovian
so-
associate or like conditioning associations. It's totally
sure.
different thing.
So you mean like the ability to like use grammar, string sentences?
I think the ability
together,
to
like that.
talk about things like I think to use negatives, like something isn't something, or the ability to communicate other things in time and space, like something will happen at a different time or a different place, to be able to communicate things like this, I believe that is
Okay.
completely unique to humans.
Oh, okay. Wait. So this doesn't have anything to do with grammar necessarily.
No.
Okay, well then bees can fucking do that.
No, I don't believe so.
Yeah, they can. They can communicate things that relate to the future. They can talk about things that relate to qualities of things.
Okay,
Fucking
if you
bees can
want,
do that.
okay, so you don't know what you're talking about, but if you want to send me an article, I can read through it and maybe we can have a deeper conversation later on. You can make a lot of associations that appear to be incredibly complicated or sophisticated language systems, but it is fundamentally different than the concepts that humans have in their brains. Human brains are not just if then, if then, if then. Animal brains can make incredibly complicated associations, but it is fundamentally different than the things that humans are able to communicate with language. And my understanding, unless there's new research on this that I haven't seen in the past year or two, there is no animal that can exhibit the same type of language or understanding of language concepts that humans can. What you're talking about are just sophisticated associations.
What language concepts are unique to humans? Maybe I should just write this out so that
Just go do your. I'm not gonna get into this conversation right now, but you can go and do all the reading and research on your own. But language, the way that humans use language and can express and explore concepts and negatives and different things in time and space with each other, that's something that only humans can do. But if you disagree, find me an article and show me, animals use language like humans do, but they don't. We've tried so hard. We've tried it with primates. We've tried it with different, there's like two famous gorilla or ape examples or whatever. We've tried to do it. We can't do it. We cannot teach them language in the way that humans have language.
Okay, teach them what specifically?
You can go and read the exact or specific things.
Because
if you
gorillas
want
can
to.
understand like future concepts.
Only associations and things learned via operant
What do you
conditioning. Like if I do this in 1 hour, this will happen. But there's a different concept that a human can have that is independent from just like doing something and knowing there'll be a reward 1 hour later.
Can you explain that?
Nope, go read about it. You can do it on your own time.
Okay, so you're not even gonna explain your position so that I can attack it.
When I utter a sentence to you, I can say that in that room, something is going to happen 5 hours from now, and you might never see it or interact with it, but I'm like giving you that piece of information, and you can conceptualize it. The ability to do that alone is something that no human can do. I think humans can do this by age like 3 or 4.
No animal can do.
Or yeah, no animal can do this. But I think like children can do this by like I think age like 2 or 3 or 4. Like they can do this like pretty early on.
Okay, so like the ability to communicate 5 hours from now in a room that you can't see, something's gonna happen. That's something like only a human can communicate and understand.
Yes, have concepts for.
I would probably disagree with that.
Of course you would, but animals don't have the ability to do this.
Communicate Possibly not, because they
No,
like,
not
again,
communicate,
don't have language.
conceptualize. They don't
But
have the concepts for it.
conceptualize, I think that's highly, highly likely.
Okay, but if they can conceptualize it, they haven't found a way to communicate it to each other, which seems highly unlikely. Because language
Sure.
is easy, like uttering sounds is easy, but if the concepts don't exist in your brain, and like I said, we've tried with like gorillas and apes to teach, and we can't teach, and they're the most biologically similar brains to us. And for a single time, we haven't been able to teach any ape how to use language like we do. None of them.
Okay, if it were the case that animals can't conceptualize that something could be somewhere else and happening, you would see very different fucking behaviors. Like, you wouldn't see birds migrate.
Dude, what you just you have to go read this thing, dude. I can't. What you just described is something
No.
so basic. You don't need language to migrate. That's like the worst example you could bring up. Why would you even say that?
No, they migrate. Well, they migrate because they know food would be somewhere else.
They don't know. What they
at a
probably
certain
know
time.
is that when temperatures start to change, they fly in a certain direction. They're not conceptualized. This is why I'm saying it's hard to explain.
I
because
think they are conceptualizing, because if you feed them during the winter, they won't leave.
Okay, because they're getting foods, because you're breaking that association. What you're talking about is when you explain language to people, people think that language is just vague associations or things built on operant conditioning. It's not. What you're describing is just associations and conditioning. Humans have a far more sophisticated level of language that we understand than just if food, then don't fly. If no food and temperature change, then fly. Animals are only functioning on incredibly basic if-then statements. If this, then this. If that, then that. That's all they can do. They don't have the higher syntactic concepts that humans do. They don't have the same semantic understanding that we do, is what I should say. And there's no way that you can, like, animals have never demonstrated that semantic understanding.
Like, again, the example, the ability to know that in a certain time, somewhere they can't see, something's happening.
That's one example, but there's a million examples associated with
Right,
concepts
okay,
of language.
well,
that,
I think that basic example, it's pretty clear animals can experience that. And, I mean, bees can communicate that. The way they determine whether or not they should move to a different area to produce a hive, they literally communicate, something in this direction, it has these qualities, it's this far.
these are, everything you're describing are vague associations.
I don't know how that's a vague association. They're literally communicating with each other qualities about something that they haven't seen.
Sure, food could be running low here. People are getting hungry. And that spurs on a chemical reaction that makes them try to find food elsewhere. They find it. They lay little bee pheromones or whatever, if they do like ants do it, and then they move hives. These are very, very, very... This doesn't require high-level conceptualization like a human brain does.
Okay, well, you didn't...
Well, I don't know why we're arguing
Say
this.
it
Just
needed
go
to be.
read articles, and then you can come back to me and tell me I'm wrong if you want. But
I don't know why I need to read articles. I just need to know your fucking position. And if I can provide examples of your position that exist in the animal kingdom...
I've looked for examples. Okay, what if it is the case that they conceptualize things? Why can't we even teach apes sign language? They're the brains that are the most similar to us.
We can teach apes sign language.
Okay.
We have. What?
We haven't.
There being gorillas that we taught sign language to, and I think chimpanzees and orangutans.
The only thing we can teach are vague associations. Like, if I do thing, then I get food. If I do thing, this thing happens. We can't.
No, you can teach them certain concepts. You can teach them to express certain feelings they have, like sad, hungry,
expressing
lonely.
a feeling that's not the type of language association or high-level concepts. Dogs express sadness when they droop their ears.
You're saying we can't, like... I understand that, but you're not being clear. Like, you're saying sign language. Well, part of sign language is making word associations with those signs.
But humans do more than simple association.
I understand, but, like, I mean, when you're talking about language, that requires things like grammar. I'm not even sure what specific definition of language you're even using.
Have you ever heard, like, the Chinese room argument? Searle's Chinese room argument?
No, what is that?
Exploring the difference between like semantic and syntactic understanding. I'm tired. It's 9:52 and I've got to leave for Osh tomorrow. I don't want to do this whole argument right now.
Can you give me? Okay, wait. Can you give me a definition of language that you're going by?
No, I don't think I can, because the way that humans utilize language is unbelievably fucking complicated. I can't give you but here's what I'll ask you.
Give me a definition of language, and that's fucking ridiculous.
Okay, can you give me a definition of sentience? Can you give me a definition of sentience?
Yeah, the ability to have a subjective experience. Like, we literally covered this in the last debate.
What is a subjective
If you're not going to
experience?
give me a definition of language, and you're basing language as a trait that makes it okay to genocide animals,
Okay,
and
hold
you're
on.
not going to give me that
gonna
definition, then
just-
how the fuck
okay.
am I even going to properly be able to argue against that?
Sentience implies subjective experience. What is a subjective experience?
Like, you're acting as if we can infinitely reduce things. Like,
No,
you
I'm
can't
not.
just
But you're
say
saying
what
sentience is the
what
ability
is.
to have a subjective experience. A subjective experience is sentience. That's tautological, using the definition of the word itself, just with different words. So I'm asking, what is a subjective experience?
No.
Explain that to me.
Well, a subjective experience is an experience that's dependent on a mind. We can't, like, Destiny, you can't infinitely reduce things.
Do you
I
not
don't
see,
know what
wait,
you-
I'm just curious.
what
Do you
you
not see the
expected
racetrack
me.
that you just did a circle around? Are you serious right now?
What is wet? What is wet, Destiny?
I don't know, something that's water on it?
Oh, okay. Well, you just used a different, like, you just said the same thing, but you just said it in a different way. Like, you can't infinitely reduce things.
We're not talking about infinitely reducing things. All I'm explaining to you is that your
Just-
whole thing
all
is
I
hinging
want
on
is a
sentience,
definition
and
of
all you're
language.
telling me is
All I want is a definition of language. You can't give it to me. Can you give me some definition?
I've
of
given you
language that,
some
like, a
concepts. I've
neuroscientist-
given you some. If you want to
No,
bring a
give me
neuroscientist on,
definition
okay.
of
Here,
Dude,
if you want, bring a
give me a
neuroscientist
definition
on.
of
Bring a
language
neuroscientist.
that
I'm
I can
inviting you to do it.
research.
Find a neuroscientist
Give
and bring
me
them
a
on.
definition of language that I can actually research. If you give me a definition that explains certain qualities of language, then I can research that, and I can come back and do the research you want me to
If
do,
you
but
wanna-
you're not even giving me a fucking definition of language.
If you-
And you're basing this as a trait to Holocaust living beings, and you can't even fucking define it.
If you want to do research on this, then Google, can
Destiny,
animals
they
learn?
want
You
the
don't want to do
definition
research.
of
You
language
don't want to
that
do. You
you
want
are
to do
relying on.
debate,
Give
bro.
me the
Debate
definition of
tactics. That's
language
what you want to do.
that
You want to
you
do
are
debate
relying
tactics,
on.
dude. There's
Give
a
me
whole
debate tactics.
philosophy of
What-
language in terms of what language even is. I'm not
Then
gonna pretend.
Then give me the definition that you're
I
going.
can't give you a definition of language.
Okay,
It's an
well, then
incredibly
you're a
complicated
fucking
thing.
joke. You don't have a real position.
True,
Then
I
you
don't. Can
have
you
a real
define
position.
metaphysics for me? Like, no, these are incredibly
Then you don't
complicated
have
areas
a
of
real
study. I can't
position.
get. I've
No,
already
no.
given you some examples of things
No.
that humans can do that animals can't do, and I think I've already demonstrated that. And you're demonstrating that your only understanding of language is vague association. If you really want to research things, then you can Google "Can animals learn language?" and that'll be a good starting point for you. And then from there, you can learn all the different
look,
types of
there's-
languages
there's
that humans use, all the different things.
There's definitions of language. Tell me the definition that you're going
Okay,
off of.
the definition that I'm going off of is called- okay, it's called-
certain traits
yes.
and certain principles.
Okay, gotcha. It's called Hockett's design features. Okay, that's the type of language that
How
I'm
do you
talking
spell
about.
that?
Hockett, S, design features.
Okay. I will. Okay, I'll look into that. Thank you. I don't know why I had to ask so many times.
No problem. Good luck.
All right. Take care, dude.
Bye. You said this was going to be 1 minute, and you lied. Do you see what you've
Well,
done now?
he-
Do you see why I avoid vegan arguments?
He
Do you see
wasn't a
what you've done?
T4 subscriber. But yeah, I mean, it kind of gone like completely off rails. I mean, like you were talking about like just completely in-depth philosophical topics that are kind of relevant, but they weren't relevant to the conversation we were having in the sense of the argument that was being presented. Like he was asking you questions that were they were like relevant questions pertaining to the sentient experiences of animals, but I don't think that was necessary for the actual argument.
Okay. Do you have any final thoughts for us?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I mean, I don't think you should be so. You should have. I don't think you should be like thinking that like the dialogue trees and this whole name the trait argument is some sort of like trick or some sort of
Even though
negative
that's
thing.
kind of exactly what just happened.
I mean, no. I mean, I don't know what's happening. There was like a million topics you were talking about, one after the other. There wasn't. I don't even know what the initial question was. I don't even know what you were talking about.
Okay.
Yeah, but do you agree that there was a contradiction though in the initial question?
No, I don't.
You don't agree.
I don't.
Okay. All right.
I love you. Yeah,
Would you ever consider going vegan for like a week or like a few days?
for sure, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah, you would.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, it was nice listening to you guys talk. Glad I could be here.
All right. Well, hey,
Yeah, I mean, I hope you. I mean, I don't know. Okay, whatever.
hope you what got some things to think about.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, dude.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. That was a good conversation. Thank you.
I love you. Be careful, babe. Okay.
See ya.
Proud of all of you today. Oh.